Hello everyone, it's Deb's Collings back again, and this video about spirit is actually the fourth one in the Quantum Perspective series. So if you've been following along, all I'm doing here is sharing a more quantum perspective about things that are in my knowing. They're things that I have experienced with clients, with myself. In fact, I live with that knowing intact. So I'm just sharing from that place. Now, it depends on where you're at in your spiritual journey as to, how you might perceive spirit. Okay. So in this video, we are not going to have a dissertation on spirit and levels and layers of dimensions and all that sort of stuff. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share real life examples about the way I've experienced this, and then give you conceptual kind of energetics ideas about it, because really everything quantum, spirit, energetic is not linear, it's not boxed, it's not definable. So I'm not going to attempt to define any of that in this video. I'm going to give you like a broader perspective of it, and if that's not something you want, turn this off. Because not everybody is open to that quantum sort of idea of self. Okay. And truly, guys, life comes to you via your own perspective of something. So the whole idea for me sharing this stuff is giving that broader perspective. It just means that you can basically open up to more of your wisdom and your own personal power, instead of living in this limited state of awareness. And of course, we're at a time on the planet where we're expanding our awareness, where we're remembering who we are. And guys, we all have expanded awareness inside ourselves. We have the ability to answer anything that we need. We have all the answers inside. But often our limited perspectives on things, including the things I've done in this series about our minds and our bodies, etc., it limits what wisdom can come into you. If you don't have an open doorway, then things can't come in, right? And it's the same with this spirit. So remember, in these last videos, I've talked about the mind being software. Okay, it's something we use. It's not who we are, but it is a software. Okay, we talked about the body being something we wear. Okay, not who we are. So both the mind and body are things that we use and things that we wear. With the spirit, however, this is more about who we are. It's more of the energetics, the life force that it's kind of us in a way. It is our life force. We come in on the breath, you could say. I mean, you don't have to think about, oh, hang on a minute, let me just think about breathing steps 1 to 10. Take a deep breath and whatever. We don't do that, do we? So in a way, that life force, that energy, that consciousness that you are comes in via the breath, in via spirit. And I often have said this to clients when I'm with them, because everything I do in sessions is actually in that quantum space, you could say. And I often say to them, consider this. If any of you have had a family member, a loved one, a loved animal that has passed into spirit, that's gone back to, or transitioned, can we say? There's a nice word. Now, if you are standing by the body of that animal that you loved or that person that you love so much, you might look at that body, touch that body, sense that body, and think, wow, they are not in there. Okay, now that's a nice logical way to look at this, in the sense of, they're not the body. Okay, if you have loved someone that much, you know how it is when you can sense a loved one that's transitioned around you. Well, that's their spirit, their energies, their consciousness. So you sense that, but you don't see it. You don't box it, because you recognize the spirit is who they are, the energies of who they are. So I'm using different terminology, but really you can't use words to create something that is quantum, that is to do with who we are, like spirit. So Yeah, it's very interesting me talking about this. I'm talking about this different to how I would the mind, for example. So I just want to share a bit more about perspective and how this has changed how I got to kind of connect to my own knowing. Right? In the beginning, back a few decades ago, I mentioned to you guys that my dad passed when I was quite young in a car accident. Now I was 10. I saw him leave the body. I was able to connect with him years after. I didn't connect too much in the beginning because I was trying to shut it off because I could feel the energy, and it can feel, scary to a younger person, right? Excuse me. But here's the thing. In the beginning, I saw like spirit or spirit energy as something that was more outside of me, not me. Like, so like I would think about spirit guides. I would connect with a psychic so that I could connect with my dad or spirit. And back then, in the beginning, my perspective, my viewpoint was that it was outside of me, you know, that it was on the other side, that it was beyond earth, etc., etc. But now I recognize that's just not true. It's like it is who I am. So I'll tell you about the experience I've gone through, or that evolution that has been for me, that has been for clients that I've connected to too. Because that my perspective changed. So the first thing was I saw it outside of me. Okay. And that meant that it had to be outside of me because that was my viewpoint. So I would go to a psychic or something to share or connect with things that were in spirit when I didn't need to. Right. The next thing, I saw it as like my guides. So, when I meditated, I would think of like the energies in spirit as being my guides. And again, that's still kind of like separate from me, right? Then I started to realize this: my guides are really aspects of me, right? So I started to connect to my multidimensionality because, guys, we are all light beings, magnificent ones at that. We are and have access, or can have access to, our multidimensionality, our other aspects of self, our broader perspective of who or what we might be. Because it's not really who we are, it's more what we are. And that's like a soul matrix, you could say. Like I've expanded on this in my Knowing the Bigger Picture video, which I'll link below for you. But when you shift your perspective to spirit being outside of you or on the other side of the veil, or guides being, oh, that's my guidance for this life, I've got a guardian angel. Well, there are angelic realms and there are angels. I'm not undermining that. But your main guide, if you wanted to use that terminology from that perspective, is actually your own self. Your higher self is like a guardian angel. It's you. You only projected a very tiny part of you into that body that you're in listening to me now. So once you actually expand that perspective, you actually start to experience these other parts of you, this expanded self, this multidimensionality. Excuse me. So this is something happened to me one day. This is quite a while ago, okay? But I'd always been into meditation and getting into nature, etc., tuning in, blah blah. And now I really don't have to do any of that in a way because it's just there. I'm in my knowing, my nos. But one day this happened to me. I was in my meditation and it was quite profound. I was connecting with what I perceived to be my guardian angel, but it was my higher self. And as I was connecting, I was like, wow, hold on, something was changing. And it was like I'm connecting and calling out to my guardian angel, my higher self. And the next thing I hear is, I'm here. And I'm like, where's that coming from? Because, when you perceive spirit to be outside of you, you think, oh, who's that? What's that? Etc. So anyway, I'm sitting there in this meditation. I had this profound feeling of like, I could feel that that was me, like my energy signature, my soul signature. Like we all have a flavor, a sound, and I'm like, whoa, hold on a minute. And I'm like having this conversation with my higher self, my guardian angel, that I'm thinking is outside of me, that is actually me, and it's kind of landed here, like it's like that seamless direct access, now that I live with. But when that happened, I was like, oh my goodness, all this time I'm perceiving my spirit, that to be separate to me on the other side of the veil, when really it was actually, it is me, right? Another facet, you could say, to the energy that's me. And I could distinctly hear it say, I'm here, I'm you. And I'm like, whoa. So then my job became, when I was with a client, don't forget to nurture that connection with your own higher self. Because your higher self, guys, is your first go-to for you accessing yourself. You could say beyond the veil, but I mean, all of that's sort of dissolving now. So it's all actually inside you. It's not outside of you. But sometimes we use the metaphor of something being above you or outside of you, when really there is that point on the inside in the heart space where it's all accessible. It's like a multidimensional portal, the heart. And so when you actually have that nurtured connection with your higher self, and that's something I encourage people to do, and I might put a video out there on just a couple of simple tips for that, things that I did to get my access that I now live with and have been doing for living with this for ages. So that's why I'm sharing it now, because I just feel if you guys know this and you're consistent and you acknowledge that as you, instead of it's something outside of me, or I'm praying or meditating to a power outside of me, all the time you're doing that, guys, it has to be outside of you. It has to show up as separate to you. But if you start acknowledging, hang on, I'm the one I've been waiting for. I'm the one I need to nurture the connection with, me with my higher self. And when you do that, guess what? When you connect with your higher self, you start accessing those multidimensional aspects of self, your other facets of you, right? And you don't have to understand that to actually, experience that as such. You can still see it as, guys, if you want. But when you start realizing that, spirit is a fluidic, dynamic, and energetic. It's who you are. It's in the breath. It's you with your higher self brings that. Uh, it brings it here. It's really hard to actually vocalize how I experience it, because it's a feeling. It's yeah, it's clarity. It's amazing, but it's you. And if you keep seeing it as outside of you, it actually has to show up that way. So if you think about that, I shifted my perspective through that sort of evolution from it being outside of me, or me needing to speak to my dad, say in spirit or guides, to me realizing, oh my goodness, as I nurtured that connection with my higher self, it was me. I was my own guide. It was me I was looking for. And then I recognized what's really being perceived as guidance is more what you're connected to in that spiritual or quantum realm. I don't even like that word because it's got so much tainting on it. When you consider spirit, there's a lot of new age spirituality stuff that has its own flavor pressed into that word, and then you've got the religious side to it too. Now, both new age spirituality and people that have been very religious and or practice prayer and all that stuff, they will experience that word as being something quite different. Now, remember, if you've got a certain perspective on a word and or something like spirit, then that is how you're going to experience it, guys. So maybe if you're choosing, or you want your own guidance, you want to be your own guide, you want to access your own connections, then, and it's always there, to be clear, but if you truly want to function like that, which is why I'm sharing this, because it's the way I function, then you will want to broaden your perspective about how you're made up and who you are. And that way, your higher self will absolutely be there for you, and your other aspects of self will show up for you. They will be like the wisdom that you require in your life now. And because we're at such a profound and incredible time on this planet, It's never been done this way before. We are all going through this evolution, waking up to this expansive perspective of self. And when you're open and you're connected or listening, like to me now, like I'm already accessing that, then it gives you an opportunity. It offers you a vibration, guys. It makes you realize it's A, doable, and B, it's not separate from you, and it never ever has been. And that's where the game of being on earth, as it's kind of like a game. It's like, oh, the answers to everything are outside of me. And that's just not true. And when I'm with someone, for me in quantum sessions, and I offer a lot of quantum services, I see myself as a doorway. I see myself as someone that holds a space. I don't do the tune in for someone in that, I'm not like their answer. They the ones that I know they need themselves, right? And because I'm back with me, then it helps them access themselves. And that should be everyone's job. There are such beautiful people out there that have, got their connection back. They are when someone is connected back and they're living that truth, hang out with them, because just through their pure resonance, their frequency, their harmonic as a soul, you will unpack your own stuff, guys. um, but if you don't have a broader perspective of who you are, or you are still thinking your way through things, or you're seeing it all as outside of self, then please know it has to show up that way until you're ready. Um, and that's just a personal choice. I get that. But we are really in a time where we can access more easy than ever who we are. Okay. And it's all inside. And I, with the word spirit, I would just suggest think of it more like it's who you are. It's yeah, it's if you listen back to this, you'll just be like, oh, I've got different ways to view it now. And I'm definitely the one I need. So if you can nurture your own connection with your higher self, to be clear, that will bring you connection to your own other aspects, your multidimensional selves. All right, you are not one being. You haven't just had one life. You've had hundreds of lives, and it's time to remember that you are the consciousness behind all of it. You're the awareness behind all of it. And sometimes what I've done in sessions with people is I've helped them set up like it's like a round table. This is kind of it's kind of cute. So like, when I tune in, what I'm doing sometimes is I just have like a round table with myself, and it's kind of like me, my higher self, and then there's my master. Now there's the Merlin aspect of me. There's the I am. There's a facet in Egypt, as an example. There are galactic facets of me that I'm aware of, but it's like the round table of me, and it's almost like I have access to all of this. And I set this up for clients because there are those facets that can assist you at this time. And you have incredible knowing and wisdom inside you. I have never not seen a client that doesn't have that. Every time someone sits with me, I think, wow, everything they're asking or they're bringing to the session, their questions, their queries, etc. I'm like looking at them thinking, wow, you really do have an aspect of you that can answer that, and then some. So it's kind of fun when you start looking from those perspectives. And my job I see is always to empower someone, not to tell them how to think or what to do. That's not me. I will, however, share my knowing, what I know. And people, can, you know, really, it can help someone quicken their path. I've known this for a long time. And so, yeah, if you're open, um, just remember you'll experience it whatever way is right for you, because you're unique. You have unique perspectives. Perspective is actually a function of the way that life comes to us. So, yeah, stay open. Do your own nurturing with your higher self, and that way you'll start to access more of who you are. And guys, it's important to discern via your own heart, through your feelings, your instincts, what is your voice, what is your multidimensional self, you know, where the voices come from. And you can do that when you got to be feeling your way with that. You can't think your way, because yeah, there's a level of discernment that goes on, and this is why it's so important for you to be with your higher self, and connect to your own round table of self, your own aspectology, we could call it, your own magnificence. And that way, you're your own guide. Boom, drop the mic. It's all good, guys. Hey, um, just know I truly acknowledge you for being here. If you haven't watched the other videos in the series, Quantum Perspective, you know, I'm sure that they can join some more dots for you. If this helps you, please share it with somebody else, because that's how we're all helping each other, right? Sharing is caring. We're all in this together. We're all equal. It's just some of us have remembered more than others at this point. We've always helped each other in old lives. So let's share and remember we're all in this, you know, together. All right. You know how to get hold of me. And remember to make self-care your priority. And also really nurture that connection with your own higher self, because it is you, and that's what has all the answers that you need for your perceived future and your life, you know, in this moment of now. Namaste, guys.